Let me ask you a question. Who built this building? It's the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, currently the world's tallest building. Okay, not quite sure. What about this one? These are the Petronas Towers, two iconic skyscrapers in Malaysia. Well, as it turns out, Samsung built all of those skyscrapers. Sometimes when you look beneath the surface, fact is often stranger than fiction. The year is 1938, and the Western financial system was still recovering from one of the greatest crashes in history, and a second world war was about to break out. It wasn't such a rosy time, but regardless, in this year, a lesser-known man by the name of Lee Chul was about to change the course of history. He founded a little company called Samsung, a trading company that dealt with local groceries and had 40 employees. At the time, the company produced noodles, then expanded into sugar, and then wool. And by the late 1950s, the company had moved into insurance, securities, and retail. In the late 1960s, Samsung moved into electronics, and the first ever product produced by Samsung Electronics was actually a 12-inch black and white TV in 1970. By 1983, the first Samsung computer had arrived. This computer was a full 2 years ahead of Windows PCs. In the 90s, Samsung began to rise as an international force in many industries. In the end, they became one of the most versatile companies in world history. Today, many of us use Samsung products in our daily lives, from TVs to computers to smartwatches and digital cameras, to fridges and kitchenware, to the chips that run our mobile phones, to the actual phones themselves. While this diversity is very impressive for just one company, just how big is Samsung? And what else are they involved in? Since 1993, Samsung Electronics has been the largest producer of memory chips in the world. In fact, the original iPhone and numerous other devices run on Samsung manufactured chips. In addition to this, in 2011, Samsung became the world's largest smartphone manufacturer. The word Samsung means 3 stars. The founder of Samsung Group wanted to indicate that the company was big, powerful, and numerous. The stars also stood for eternity. Have a look at this logo. Do you notice the opening on both ends of the ellipse where the letters S and G are located? This is intended to illustrate the company's open-mindedness and desire to communicate with the world. Starting from 2006, Samsung remained the largest television manufacturer in the world. They are also the largest manufacturers of LCD panels, and today, 98% of the AMOLED screen market is dominated by Samsung. For those of you wondering, AMOLED is a type of screen that doesn't require a backlight like typical LCD screens. The company spent $14 billion in research and development in just 2014 alone. Another interesting thing, the S at the end of the Galaxy S series stands for Super Smart. Samsung has 490,000 employees, more employees than Apple, Google, and Microsoft combined.
Bonus.
In 1995, Samsung invested $2 million into the clothing brand Fubu, just as they were about to go under. Fubu has generated $6 billion in sales since. So, just how big is Samsung? Well, in terms of money, the company made $305 billion in revenue in 2014. So is that good or not so good? We need a bit of a yardstick here. So how much was Apple's revenue in 2014? It was actually $183 billion. And what about Google? Only $66 billion. Well, that's not all. Samsung is 17% of Korea's entire GDP. So the question must be asked, how do they make such ridiculous amounts of money to dwarf even Google? Well, here's the secret. Samsung is actually made up of 80 different businesses and affiliates. These businesses are commercially and legally independent, but unified by sharing a single philosophy. Here are some of them. Under the category of engineering and construction, we have Samsung Engineering and Construction, Samsung Trading and Investment, and Samsung Heavy Industries. For electronics, we have Samsung Electronics, Samsung Electromechanics, TechWin, a military arm, Samsung Mobile Display, and Samsung Digital Imaging, to name a few. For finance, we have Samsung Life Insurance, Securities, Investment Trust Management, Venture Investment. There's also a chemical branch, Samsung Petrochemicals, Samsung BP Chemicals. There's actually plenty of others as well, like a marketing company called Cheryl Industries. Samsung also has a hotel and resort business, a medical center, Economic Research Institute, a foundation of culture, a life and welfare foundation. In a joint venture with Renault, the company also has been making cars for 20 years, and the list goes on and on and on. So we've already mentioned that Samsung builds skyscrapers, but what else? Well, under Samsung's branch Samsung TechWin, the company also does surveillance, aeronautics, automations, and weapons technology. Some of the weapons technology that Samsung has made includes a South Korean military robot designed to replace human counterparts in the demilitarized zone at the South and North Korean border. And that's not all. Samsung has also made the K9, a full-fledged army tank. And if that wasn't enough, Samsung also makes jet engines. But let's turn things up a notch. As it turns out, Samsung Heavy Industries has the most efficient shipbuilding center in the entire world. It is over 400 million square feet in size. And these are some of the ships that Samsung have built over the years. As you can see by comparing them to a regular ship, these are absolute giants, colossal floating cities almost. And if that's not enough, Samsung runs the biggest theme park in Korea, complete with a zoo and various other crazy things. Samsung's size is so ridiculous that there's even a Samsung City. This city contains a few of the company's businesses. Some other cool things include their very own clothing line and a brand new research lab for drones, robotics, 3D printing, and virtual reality. The cool thing about this lab is it's actually going to be part of Samsung's mobile division, but it's going to operate independently, and it's going to build on the work that Samsung has done through their robot vacuum cleaners. And let's not forget virtual reality in general. The Gear VR was the first proper mobile virtual reality headset, and I just got it the other day and have been playing around with it, and it actually works pretty well. Okay, so we're reaching towards the end of the video, so maybe you're starting to get the picture now that Samsung does just more than TVs, fridges and phones. They do pretty much everything. In all my time of doing videos, I've never come across so many surprises in my research. And I'm not saying this to be a fanboy or anything like this, it's just a matter of looking at how many things they do. Who would have known that the same company that dominates the smartphone industry also makes jet engines and military equipment, builds some of the world's biggest ships, built the world's biggest skyscraper, has a medical research facility, a theme park, a finance institution, and the list goes on and on. It's said that every year, Samsung donates $100 million to its non-profit medical center, which consists of several hospitals and medical research facilities. So in conclusion, it would seem that Samsung is the kind of company that tries their hand at almost everything and chooses to observe and iterate until they get better and eventually become the market leaders. In all honesty, it is amazing how much of a dark horse this company is. I wouldn't be surprised if most people out there are only aware of Samsung electronics and their home appliances. It's amazing to think that all of this just started from one man with his small trading company dealing in groceries. So, if you have a Samsung phone, the next time you look at it, it might just seem a little bit different now that you know the true size of the company that made it.